and welcome to Citizens Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan. Now, if you voted, if you pay your taxes on time, there is no real reason why you should not expect the best-in-class service from your government. Now, this is the show where we tell you how to demand for these services from the government and to ensure that you get them. On the show with me today is Shailesh Gandhi. Shailesh is the former CIC. Shailesh, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Let's get started with this question sent in by Ankit from Mumbai. Now, Ankit says that he's a resident of Bandra and an avid viewer of Mirror Now. He says that I learned from your news that BMC has extended the deadline to complete road repair works to June 5th. I must say that BMC cannot even fulfill a small promise. We residents of Bandra would like to know if we could do anything to ensure that road works are completed on time. And in fact, Shailesh, before I come to you, I'd like to go across to this piece of news that Ankit is actually speaking about. This is something that we've been following up on Mirror Now for a long time now. And this, in fact, is the story a reporter brought us today. The BMC is set to miss the May 31st deadline to make the city rain ready. The civic body has, in fact, extended the deadline, like Ankit pointed out, to June 5th. And what's more appalling is that this is the 15th time that the BMC has missed a deadline in the last 5 years. And all of these are self-imposed deadlines. Disha gets us that report.
Yes, absolutely. BMC is all set to miss its self-imposed deadline, that's 31st of May, to complete all the pre-monsoon road repair works and even trenching work in the city of Mumbai. This is what the BMC officials confirmed to Mirror Now, and they have extended the deadline to 5th of June to complete all the pending road repair works. And of course, this is the ground reality that you're seeing at the moment. More than 300 roads are yet to be repaired, and those are the major arterial roads like the SV road in Bandra, the Goregaon-Mulund link road, and also the two sides of the Eastern Express Highway, the exit as well as the entrance. All this will be a major pain point for the Mumbaikars during this monsoon. In fact, what we also understand, this is not the first time that BMC has missed its deadline. Over the course of 5 years, BMC has missed 15 deadlines, on an average 3 deadlines every year. And let me tell you, those are the self-imposed deadlines set by the BMC. And of course, now what we learn is that only 45% of the road repair work is done and only 60% of the trenching work is done on ground. So this obviously, now only monsoon is just, only now the deadline is just 2 weeks away, and there's a huge task of completing 300 major arterial roads. So citizens, they tell us that it is yet again going to be a shoddy job by the BMC. It is yet again going to be a bad monsoon for Mumbaikars. This is Shasha for Mirror Now.
300 roads to be repaired, 40% of trenching work not yet done. Shailesh, it is not unusual. It is, in fact, it is not at all unusual that Ankit is so distressed over the state of the city roads. And now he's actually talking of coming together as a community to do something for the Bandra roads. He wants to know how can they ensure that BMC finishes at least the roads in front of their residents in their locality on time.
I would put it like this. I mean, immediately I have no solution that I can offer. I have no magic wand. But if Ankit and others in Mumbai want a long-term solution from next year onwards, you see, this is too late now, and to expect something to happen like a miracle is difficult. They may or may not be able to do it. But immediately file a complaint on 1916 with BMC. 2, file RTA applications, and this is a route which can succeed by next year. 30th May is not a self-professed. It is because we know that monsoons are likely to be there even in the first week of June. So 30th May is not just pulled out of the air, but it is because to safeguard Mumbai in case the monsoon comes a little earlier. These dates have been violated time and again, as you pointed out. Let me make a suggestion. If 100 citizens across the city start asking through right to information, even now, date on which the tender was awarded, to whom it was awarded, what was the finishing date of the tender, what are the penalties for late execution. There are in most tenders, almost all tenders, there are penalties for late execution or late completion. And by and large, it is very well known that these penalties are not imposed on the contractors. There is a long series of things why we get very bad contractors in Mumbai. There are good contractors in Mumbai and the nation, but the good contractors do not come to BMC because the bad contractors have got a clique amongst themselves and they operate. And it is ensured that no penalties are levied on them. If citizens ask in RTI and say what are the penalties, what is the last date and what are the penalties, the last date logically should be 30th May. If it is not 30th May, then BMC is heavily to blame and somebody needs to correct himself and some heads need to roll. But if, as I am assuming, 99% the dates will be 30th May or earlier, and if there is late and we ensure through RTI find out what are the problems, then file a complaint with the BMC officers and say, has penalty been imposed on these people? If not, please take action. If we penalize a few contractors and people begin to realize that this is serious, citizens are the kings of this city and this nation. And they must now become a little more vigilant. Not actually go anywhere, as I am suggesting, just file RT applications and file complaints. On complaints, if there is no resolution, which is also a possibility, please file after 45 days a complaint under section 64C of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act, which says that if response is not given within 45 days, disciplinary action must be taken against specific government servants. These are tools that can be used, and if used effectively, I can assure you, if this gentleman and 100 other people across the city take this as a kind of mission saying we'll keep working until next year, I am almost sure next year these things will not repeat.
Right, Ankit, three-pronged approach, in fact, that Shailesh has recommended for you. Let me quickly recap that. One is, of course, call up 1916, that is the BMC, the Mumbai Civic Body Helpline, and file a complaint. You will be given a number. Keep hold of the number because this is what will help you track the status of your complaint. Check on it, and if you do not get a response within 45 days from the municipal corporation, then you should file a complaint under section 64C of the Bombay Municipal Corporation Act, which wherein you can actually ask for penal action to be taken against the officers who have not responded to your complaint. The other approach, of course, is to file an RTI application, which is a kind of a long-term approach, but this is also something that will prod the officers into action, because now you are questioning the work that they are doing, you are questioning the accountability. So these are three things that you can do, one that may work in the short term and one that should work in the long term. In fact, Shailesh, lots of questions on roads and on potholes, and I'm sensing that's because monsoons are just around the corner. Vinay writes in from Navi Mumbai and says that I live very close to the railway station. The road right opposite the railway station has been in a pathetic condition. I have approached the municipal officials, but in vain. They are only making false promises. Can you tell me whom do I approach next? So if your municipal officials are not helping you, what can you do?
I would again suggest a two-pronged approach. One is the short term and one the medium term or long term, if I may put it like that. Let's look at the short term ones. The same things that I suggested earlier can be done now, and whether they've given the work to somebody or not has to be checked out. If the work for repairs has not been given, then the municipal officer should be held responsible and a complaint be filed. But slightly medium term, because roads are not meant to have potholes. Let's understand this. In Mumbai, year after year, we keep saying, how do we repair potholes? How do I get the problem of potholes solved? Why don't we look at it in like this and say, roads were meant to stay and service us. Worldwide, even asphalt roads have a 10-year guarantee period given by the contractor, and he is made to pay in case there is any failure, and pothole repairing also has to be done at his own expense. That's how you get quality roads. Even if I go to a place like Sri Lanka, asphalt roads last. You it's difficult to find a pothole on those asphalt roads. Whereas here this keeps happening because we've got used to it, and our question is, how will the potholes get repaired? These roads must last. Even now, I believe the guarantee is probably 1.5 years or 2 years, and even that is not enforced. We must enforce the tender conditions as specified to say that we want a 10-year problem-free road. If that is not done, somebody must pay, and it's usually the contractor. Saying municipal authorities will pay, nobody can pay like that. But it is done through contractors, and contractors must be made to pay. Unfortunately, we've not been vigilant. In most countries of the world, there are no vigilance department in every department. We've got vigilance departments which also do not work. If citizens become a little more conscious of the fact that they must, and if we create a kind of movement or an opinion saying we want roads which must last 10 years, and if they don't last 10 years, the contractor must pay, I think that would be our solution. Repairing potholes all the time and keeping on chasing potholes every time is not really the long-term solution.
Exactly. Of course, Vinay, like Shailesh pointed out earlier, you can also call up the Civic helpline. You also have, though of course you will have to check for the Civic helpline of the Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation, which I'm sure they too would have a helpline. And do get in touch with your corporator, your local ward officer. Ensure that you make complaints in all of these places, because the paper trail will also help you eventually when you demand why action has not been taken. Rupesh writes in and says that I'm a resident of Dadar. Roads in our locality have been dug up and no BMC officials are bothered to even close the trench. I approached BMC officials thrice, but in vain. What do I do now? And this, Shailesh, is a bigger problem. Roads being dug up is one problem, of course, the sorry condition of the roads. But trenches is a bigger problem, because come monsoon, chances are somebody is going to fall into that trench and get hurt. How can you ensure that these trenches are at least closed in time?
There are 3 or 4 issues at stake. A, as per BMC policy, no trench can be left open for more than 2 days, 3 days, 7 days and 10 days. There are different periods. Whenever a trenching is done, it is mandatory that it must be barricaded. The name and address of the contractor should be there. The date of starting and the date by which it should finish should be there, and the sub-engineer's phone number should be given on that. Most of these places, this is not happening. And we are not complaining about it, we are complaining about the trenches. If we start complaining about this and say, take photographs, take 3 witnesses and say there is no board as per the mandate, penalize the contractor. Trench has not, the starting date is not mentioned, the ending date is not mentioned, penalize the contractor. The name and phone number of the municipal engineer has not been given, penalize the engineer. If we start doing this, believe me, our specifications are really very good. What is happening is it's not getting implemented, and we are complaining each thing at a time. Instead of trenches, as I said, if again I would repeat this and say, if 100 people start complaining about each trench wherever there is no barricade, wherever there is no board, and if the board is there, the board will have to show these 2-day, 3-day, 7-day positions. No trench can be left like this. That is the law. Law is not being enforced and implemented. Can the citizens become their own vigilance monitors and say, we will correct the system? See, the solution lies in correcting our entire system. Each problem we should not be solving. That is the job of the BMC, and the BMC gives these jobs to contractors. We must make the contractors pay. Why BMC does not enforce the contracts is something we can all discuss separately, and we all can guess. But let's not get into that. Let us enforce that the contracts are enforced properly. Our rules are really fantastic. They say over 100 meters, no trench can be dug unless it is for cables which are very long. Only small trenches can be done, and they have to be filled up and repaired and set into the original condition within a very specific period. Let us start enforcing this. And of course, as you said, using the complaint number of BMC or other bodies. All bodies have complaint numbers, and a combination of right to information, Act Section 64C of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation and complaints can do wonders if we use it in a systematic manner.
Right. So essentially, here's what you need to do and what you need to remember as citizens. If there is digging or any road repair work that is taking place near your house or on your way to work, especially if there's trenching that is happening, there should be a little yellow board. Take a photograph of that little yellow board. That has all the details, the name of the contractor who's doing the job, the date when the work started, the date when the work should end, the defect liability period, which in effect works like a warranty that you get on a white good. That is how long that road should be running. That road should not give you any problems. So these are things that you need to keep in mind. It also has the contact details of the contractor. Keep all of these with you and approach the BMC or your local municipal body with that and ask them why action should not be taken on that particular contractor. Shailesh, I can see that you want to come in over there, but let me take one more question again to do with roads from another city.
I just want to make
very quickly.
A small comment on this, on what you said just now, Kavita.
Right.
Most places the board will not be there. So people will say, we don't find the boards. Photograph that and complain. The law requires the board to be put up, but in most places the board is absent. This is the correction I want people to understand. Boards are not there, but the law requires them to be there. And if we enforce the law, then a lot of results will follow.
Exactly. And before we move on to our other question, the other thing that you can note down is a number that is running on the bottom of your screen. There will be a WhatsApp number that will come up. That is a number that Mirror now has taken only for WhatsApp messages. So if there are videos that you want to share with us, photographs that you want to send us of issues, of civic issues like these, please feel free to take photos, take videos, location tag them and send them to us with your details. We will get in touch with you and we will try to show you how to solve your problems. Raghu writes in from Bangalore and says that the road in front of their society is filled with potholes. He says, I do not know what to do now. We've written so many complaints about the issue to authorities. Nothing has been done. What do I do now? Shailesh?
Some of the things I suggested for Mumbai, but with one additional thing. Ask in RTI for the progress of your complaint. That puts them in a spot. Because it is very difficult. The truth really is that most government servants and most government offices neglect the citizen's letter or complaint. They treat it like trash. A good tip, and this has been tried by many people across the nation, get first acknowledgement of your complaint. That is absolutely essential. Either you give it personally and get an acknowledgement on the photocopy, or send it by speed post and keep the speed post tracking report with you to show that you had given a complaint which had reached on date X. If there is no response to the complaint, file an RTI application after about 30 days asking what was the status of your complaint and what action did they take, and always ask for a copy of your complaint. Quite often these complaints are just thrown away. If they are thrown away, we will force the system into saying citizen is not someone to whom no response can be given. This is completely humiliating and unacceptable. As a citizen, enforce your right. 2. In response to the RTI application, there are 2 or 3 possibilities. They may not respond, in which case please go through the first appeal. We must in all cities ensure that such RTI applications are answered by the respective officers. That itself could bring a certain amount of change, because then officers begin to realize that citizens are asking and we can't continue as usual. In case nothing has been done, please write a letter to the Secretary of the Department or the Municipal Commissioner, depending on what is relevant there, and point this out, that they are not acting and there is so-and-so officer responsible. Action must be taken against him. If we enforce accountability, if we follow the system, there is a bureaucratic system and it will remain. But use that bureaucratic system. Instead of just complaining about a particular pothole, and in case no action has been taken, as you are pointing out, they are duty bound to take action. We must use the laws a little intelligently, RTI in particular. For Maharashtra, I would say for Mumbai, Section 64C of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act. For Maharashtra, there is Act 21 of 2006, which all talk of the same thing. everywhere in the rules and laws, time frames have been given, specifications have been laid down. Start trying to study those, ask for them in RTI, study those. What are the duty liabilities? What is the penalty clauses? How much time is guarantees to be given? If we start doing that, I think we'll get a huge change in the whole governance structure.
Right. So essentially you need to demand accountability to make the system work for you. That's what Shailesh is telling us over there. A question from Chennai next. Sindhu says that for the past 3 weeks, there have been a lot of power cuts in my area. It so happens that in a stretch, there are power cuts for about 7 to 8 hours. And Shailesh is coming at a time when Chennai is sweltering at around 41 to 45 degrees on an average. She says, I've written letters to authorities. They do not have a proper answer to give. What should be my next step? We also heard, in fact, last week, Shailesh, of this huge power cut that happened well through the night. It brought people of Chennai onto the streets in protest. It was that bad. What can citizens do in this regard?
There are two ways of looking at this. One is there may be a power shortage in Chennai, which I do not have specific data or facts on that. If there is a power shortage, it's the state government that is responsible. And the state government must be made to be accountable and answer why there is a power shortage, why they have not planned adequate power capacity. But as I said, I do not know about that. Alternately, which also happens at times, areas are unfairly given power and other areas are made to suffer. For something like that, again, an RTI application could help. Ask the electricity board there about what time to what time the power cuts were enforced in various areas. As I said, if there is a power shortage or there is defective equipment, then the state government is answerable. If there is defective equipment, the electricity board is answerable. But if, I do not know, if Chennai has actual power shortage and the power capacity has not been well planned, then I think pressure needs to be put on the government. And my guess is media can play a big role in that. It's difficult for individual citizens to do something. Alternately, of course, Chennai has now become famous for its massive protests. Maybe that is where you can bring pressure.
Which in fact the citizens have already done. They have spent one night on the streets protesting about these power cuts, which did force the government to take some action on that particular night. But of course, like Sindhu points out, that the problem has not really been solved. So you probably need to find out what is the reason for power cuts in your area and then try to affix responsibility over there. Also, keep putting pressure on the government. That should also probably help. And yes, if there is a major power deficit situation, then it's probably time for citizens also to start thinking about saving power. We have another question from Delhi now. Suraksha has sent us a question and she says that she is a resident of Mayur Vihar in East Delhi. She says, we've been facing issues of sewage water logging in the locality for the past few months. We approached the MCD for help, but no action has been taken so far. We were told that the issue would be solved, but nothing has been done on ground. Whom do we approach further to get the issue solved? In fact, Shailesh over here, if you could just give us a breakdown of how any municipal corporation functions. If I have a problem, and like for instance sewage in this case, which department do I go to? Which is the officer, who is the officer I approach with my problem? And if that officer in question does not take action, how can I escalate it? How long should I wait before one officer responds to my complaint or does not respond to my complaint before I escalate it?
Most of the municipal corporations, to my understanding, have what is called sewage departments, which are special departments. Mumbai Municipal Corporation has 99%. MCD, Municipal Corporation of Delhi, should also have that. So you can file a complaint with that. But in case you do not know, and this is it's not necessary to go and break your head trying to figure out who exactly I need to approach. Write to the municipal commissioner. It's his job, and usually most municipal commissioners, despite all the other problems, do farm it out to the respective officer. In case you can find out, fair enough, write to the sewage department or your ward office itself. There will be a sewage officer or part of the sewage department in your ward office. Complain to him. But the main problem is not your complaining and complaining to the right person. The main problem is that nobody is bothered about you. How do we make them be bothered about this? Therefore, as I said, leave a paper trail, as Kavita pointed out. Complain, keep up a paper trail, escalate it to the higher officer. Said if within a week or so this is not attended to, week, 10 days, depending on the kind of problem, please escalate it to the municipal commissioner. Seek an appointment with the municipal commissioner. In most states, they have something called a Lok Shahi Din as well, which is on a particular day, the top officer of the state or of the corporation has to meet citizens. You take an appointment and on Lok Shahi Din, go and make a representation saying that this has not happened, that has not happened. The top official has to meet you and give an explanation or an assurance, and that shames people, because then they feel the pressure. The top officer feels the pressure. Right now, you are nowhere near the top officer. Use the Lok Shahi Din provision and try and meet the top officer. Apart from that, of course, meet your corporator. You elected the corporator to do a job, not to just have fun. Please meet your corporator. Quite often, corporators are also very good. I'm not saying that. It is perhaps at times that citizens don't approach the corporator. Please think in terms of approaching your elected corporator. He is your main person responsible for such issues, and if you seek his help, there is a reasonable chance he may actually resolve your problem.
Time over here. Though Suraksha, the other thing you can of course do in Delhi, where you have RWAs, is use the collective strength of the RWA when you go and meet with the commissioner, when you go and meet with the corporator and demand accountability. That's the only way that you can get the government to work for you. With that, we come to an end of this episode of Citizens Hotline. Shailesh, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, keep sending in your queries to the numbers on your screen and we will get them answered. Thank you for watching.